Hey traders from around the world, what's going on? It's your boy Ricky Cadden back again with another free Friday stock review just for you from Real Life Trading Australia. Hope you guys are doing absolutely sensational this week, and let's take a look at the broader markets. Now, on this particular day, guys, we are looking a little bit bearish out there in the markets. We did speak about this in the trading room, and I did mention that it is a retest gap. However, it is a very bearish gap and not to be long on any stocks at open. This was why you can see we did gap down below. This particular low back on this day here. And from there, we sold off back down to the lows back in January 15th. We had this beautiful retest gap. Being a black candle gapping down, we retested. But what is really interesting is we didn't actually fill that gap, guys. So because we didn't fill the gap, I'm actually thinking this still has a little bit more in on the bear side. I do think we are going to continue a little bit lower, possibly down to 365 or 362. So keep your eyes peeled for a little bit more of a continuation lower on the SPY. Here's the E-minis. Now the E-minis, you can see we have currently got a very nice little bearish inside day candle. A lot of volatility, very wide ranges on a lot of these futures. Very volatile out there in the markets as we speak, but this does not look very bullish at all. If you take a look at the hourly chart, we did come straight back up to this resistance level, and we just sold right back off again. So if we do start to hold this support at around 3,700, that's going to be some good news. But if that level gets taken out, guys, it's going to be a little bit of a free fall, unfortunately, for the E-minis. Here's Aapl. Now, if you take a look at Aapl on the daily chart, we did get very nice. I would call this almost like an abandoned baby. However, we did retest these two particular gaps, but it is very bearish. It is Morningstar-esque pattern if you kind of put all these into three candles, but looking pretty weak out there, guys. We tried to retest, and at this stage, I think that we're most likely going to continue back down to the lows of about 128 on Aapl. So keep your eyes peeled on a little bit more of a pullback on Aapl. Roku, here's Roku. Now Roku, we did mention that we'd most likely pull back, but it will be a dip buying opportunity. Take a look at the shorter term moving averages. We came back down to the 20 EMA, and what's really interesting about this, guys, is we did almost fill that retest gap back here at the start of the year. And if we are going to play this long, I would be looking for a close above this bullish high wave candle. Based on the volume that we've got coming in right now, if that volume does get taken out, we will most definitely come back down to the 50 EMA on Roku. But hopefully we stay long, so hopefully we stay bullish on this particular dip, and we can start to scream on higher. Here's the ASX 200. Now I did mention we were looking a little bit bearish out there, and here we are back down at the 50. Massive volume, massive bearish volume on the ASX 200. Long-term moving averages, you can see we are still a little bit a while away. If we continue to pull back in the markets, we'll most likely pull back down to the 100 simple moving average, and that would be a phenomenal gap fill from back in November. So looking forward to that if it does occur. Here's CBA, the big banks. Now this was a evening star reversal pattern. I did mention in the last couple of my reviews that this is a selling location. You want to get into somewhat of a collar position, look to protect your asset, lock in gains, whatever that looks like. But we did get a extremely bearish engulfing candle from the previous day, and it was a gap up. It was a gap and go, black candle gapping up. It was a gap and go that just failed instantly, and we ended up closing lower than the previous day. So if we can get a bit more of a pullback, it would be 82, and then from there maybe back down to 80, and then hopefully we look to find some support on CBA. Here's RIO. Now I did mention this to one of my traders in the trading room, that RIO was at a selling level. We have had a very massive rise in the stock, about 37% just since November, and I just mentioned to the trader that it's a very good time to get into a collar position, look to protect your assets, and look to protect your downside. So well done to the real life traders who did end up protecting their assets on Rio. But right now, looks like we're just going to continue that little bit lower, fill this gap, and retest this particular previous level of resistance as a support level, which is also going to coincide with the 100 simple moving average, which looks absolutely phenomenal for a dip buying opportunity. Here's crude oil. Now, crude oil has just been following Mr. Squiggles, although at this point, I'll just zoom in here. At this point, we aren't looking too bullish. We are still stuck within this range, this channel. Volume is sort of kind of starting to drop off, and we're starting to create lower highs. So at this point, guys, crude oil, I'll just be very neutral. Expect a possible breakdown. If this low gets taken out, we're going to get a little bit of a sell-off, maybe down to about 48, and then from there it will be a nice little dip buying opportunity on crude. Here's gold. Now gold is, I did mention we're going to have a little bit of a pullback, which we did get. We did come back down to this low at 1828, so I hope you guys did end up catching that dip. Still consolidating sideways, still waiting for this to bounce. It's just a matter of time. I know I've said this before, but it's a matter of time before gold starts to rise. We do have some increasing volume, which is good to see, but definitely keep your eyes peeled on this one as it is forming a very gorgeous triple bottom, aka inverted head and shoulders pattern. Here's the Aussie dollar. Now we are breaking down. So we are breaking down. I did mention that this level of support needs to hold if it is going to go higher, and it actually failed. So we got this beautiful little hammer candle, sensational volume, and at this point I would still be a little bit bearish unless we can close above that support level. I'd be a little bit bearish and possibly come back down to about 75.50 on the Aussie dollar. Bitcoin I still think it's going to come back down a little bit lower. Volume is still dropping off a little bit, still creating lower highs, still creating lower lows. Bitcoin, I'm still waiting for this dip to occur. I would argue that this is a very nice double bottom. However, if it breaks above, I would wait for a retest before buying into Bitcoin anyway on that one. And the dollar index, guys, I mentioned this before. This is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. We may potentially rise, but if we just get rejected at this price, she's going to head on lower. Alright guys, I'll be back next week with another free real life stock review. If you guys have any tickers you would like me to review, leave it in the comment section below, and I would love to do that for you next week. Have a great weekend, and until next time, love life, live life, and trade it. You guys rock. Bye.